Namaste yogis, welcome back. Sesa here. We are going to get ourselves on the way to getting started for an hour of yin and yang. Casey is going to be demonstrating for me today. So let's go ahead and just start off in Sukhasana or crisscross applesauce, but ideally crossing at the middle of your shins. So the feet actually stay wide and forward with the knees rather than pulling in to the groin. Make sure you do find the sit bones, grabbing the cushion out from underneath you. And the main reason you want to do this is your tailbone and the hip girdle itself is not rounding underneath you. You want the pelvis to be neutral. If you need to sit on a bolster, a rolled up towel, a block, feel free to use that. Hands resting on the knees, spine lifting up towards the ceiling, and then just closing your eyes. And with your eyes closed, just begin to kind of feel out the different areas of your body. What is feeling a little tight or resistant? Aches and pains, cramping. Whatever sensations may be coming to the surface. But then just allow gravity to begin to weigh the knees down, opening the hips. As the lower belly pulls in towards the spine and almost up underneath your rib cage to help lift the spine a little more. Make sure the shoulders don't shrug with it. The shoulders still descend down the back, remaining heavy. And then with the eyes closed, let's let go of a nice long exhale. And then take a deep inhale through your nose. Send that breath all the way down to the hook of your tailbone. Feel your ribs expand out horizontally. And then open up your mouth. Let's take another long, slow, deep inhale through the nose, filling from the bottom to the top and holding your breath. Notice how it's almost as if the rib cage has lifted. Can you keep the height of your rib cage but exhale, audibly release? Take another long, slow, deep inhale through the nose. As the spine lifts, the ribs may even feel as if they lift, but remember, shoulders stay down. Hold your breath at the top. And then open up the mouth. One more deep inhale through the nose to hold. This time keeping the lips sealed. Exhale, go ahead and slowly out the nose. And then just continue to breathe as slowly and as deeply as you can. Samavriti here, that balanced breath. And then as you feel ready, you're going to go ahead and slowly blink your eyes open. And because I didn't tell you which leg, whatever leg is in front, you're going to take it out, but keep the knee bent, and we're going to come into a 90-90 shape. So 90-90 meaning that you want to create a 90-degree angle in both legs, but if that front knee lifts, you can pull the foot in towards the groin so the knee grounds down. But spine stays up tall, and then just bring the hands in front of your front leg wide, cupping the earth with the fingertips, and then try to square off your hips and your shoulders, pulling the belly in away from the front leg. Now I want you to begin to push into your back knee and lift the heel up towards the ceiling. Without turning your torso towards the front knee. Keep it square. And then gently place the heel back down and lift the knee up without pulling your shoulder with it. Keep the torso square to the front of the mat. And then put the knee down, lift the heel up. And then put the heel down and lift the knee up. You should be able to keep doing this on your own. And you should start feeling those glute muscles in that outer side of the body cramping, seizing, right? Any adjective you want to use for that feeling that you're finding. But breathe. And then with your next one, with the knee down, we'll just meet in neutral. You can use your hands on the mat. You're going to push into your front shin and the foot. Flex your front foot. Push into the shin and slowly try to lift the hips up. And then without just letting the weight throw you back down, gently sit back down. So if you need your hands, use them to push into the shin, lift the hips, squeeze your glutes together, and gently sit back down. If you don't need your hands, you can bring your hands to heart center and just interlace the hands, but use the squeezing of the glutes to help lift and lower you up and down on your own. Ooh. Last few rounds. Meeting up at the top, pause, and then gently sit back down. Try and bring that back leg back out in front, cross the shins, and gently fold your elbows out in front of them. Relax the head and neck, feel the muscles now release and soften, hips stay heavy, belly pulls tight. And then inhale, think flat back or halfway up to slowly bring yourself back up. Switch the cross in your shins. Remember, trying to create a 90-degree angle in both legs. And whatever shin is in front, you're going to take it out and around, but keep that 90-degree angle in the legs. Right? And remember, that front knee should be grounded, so if you have to pull the foot in a little bit towards the groin, do so. If that back hip is really cramping already, you can pull the foot more in towards your bottom, so you're almost more in like a Virasana shape. And then flexing the feet, cup the earth in front of the legs. Square off your torso and your hips to the front of your mat. And then pressing your back knee into the ground, you're going to lift the heel up as high towards the ceiling as you can without letting that shoulder wrap forward. And then set the heel down and lift your knee up. Ooh. And then set your knee down, lift the heel up. This is an internal rotation of the femur bone in the hip socket. Put the heel down, lift the knee up. This is external rotation like a warrior two. And then back and forth on your own. Remember, most important, keep your pelvis and your shoulders square so they're not moving around with you. We have this tendency to try and create hip mobility, but we try and move our pelvis the same direction the hip is going, and you want to not do that. The next time your knee is down, set it down, flex your back foot, flex your front foot, press into the shin, that top edge of your foot, maybe even into your fingertips. Squeeze your butt together to lift your hips up off the ground. And without just letting your weight throw you back down, gently sit back down. So remember, use your hands if you need to. If you can, bring your hands up off the mat. But squeeze the butt together to help lift and lower you. Breathe. Last few. We'll meet squeezing and holding at the top. Gently release it back down. Try and keep the 90-degree angle. Just bring the back leg in front, cross the shins, fold your elbows over the front, relax your head and neck. Let those muscles release, soften. Head and neck hang. And then inhale, think flat back. To plant your palms at the front of your mat, just roll over your shins, step back, downward dog. Get there however you need to. Once you get there, feel free to pedal out your feet, come up and down on your toes a few times, whatever feels right to the body. Make sure you take a look at the hands. They should stay jetting straight out from your shoulders, and ideally it's your index and middle finger that points straight forward. But if you're sensitive and the wrists are super tight in your shoulders, you can turn your hands a little further out. But as the head and neck finally relaxes, look back at the feet, let them rest hips distance apart. Make your heels spin back and just slightly out so they disappear behind your toes. And then even if you have to bend the knees a lot, I want you to lift the hip creases straight up towards the sky, trying to get those sit bones to pull up towards the ceiling. Keeping the height of your hips, I want you to knit the front ribs in so you don't just dump into your upper back. Keeping the length of your spine, the height of your hips, begin to push the tops of your thighs straight back to help anchor your heels down. Now let's keep the head and neck relaxed and just consciously think about the hands. Can you lift just your fingertips up off the mat? So you ground down to the whole circumference of your palm. And then as you spread your fingers wide, you're going to fan them into the mat with each knuckle ending with your fingertips. Now keep your hands as they are, but you're going to hug your shoulder blades to the outer rib cage. That's called protraction. It should also help hug your triceps back. And then I want you to think of lifting your forearms forward. And then with an inhale, we will come forward, high plank or top of a push-up. Pause. Hips level out with the shoulders, heels press back, thighs firm up to the ceiling. Unless you need to drop to the knees for modification, use them. Keeping the hips level with the shoulder blades, we have the slightest tuck to the tailbone. You don't want to overdo it, rounding the lower back out. You just want the spine to be neutral. Pull the belly tight. Press down into the inner edge of your hands, the first knuckle of your thumb and index finger to lift the chest up. The back of your head should stay up, so the back of your skull lines up with your sacrum. We breathe. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, downward dog, lift your hips up and back. Inhale, come forward, high plank. And exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. One more. Inhale, roll forward like a wave. And exhale, pulling back. Now from downward dog, let's inhale to high plank. Leaning your shoulders forward with an exhale, bend your arms halfway, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, maybe up dog. Just stay gentle. First back bend of the class. Exhale, roll over the toes, lift the hips, downward dog. From downward dog, let's inhale, come forward, high plank. So if you need to do a little less, you can always put your left knee down to the mat. I want you to lift your right foot up off the ground, flex through the heel. Now keep your hips level, the lower back neutral, but bend your right knee as if you're curling your right heel towards your bottom. Now keep your hips neutral, but I want you to drop your right heel towards your left leg as you lift the knee out to the side of the room. Without lifting the hip, keep the hips square. And then slowly lift the heel back up towards the ceiling. Keep the hips square and drop the heel in the opposite direction, swiveling the knee in. Don't let the right hip drop. Now bring the heel straight up to the ceiling. Exhale, pull the knee to your nose, round through the shoulders, pull the belly tight. Now push down into the hands. Notice how high your chest is. Can you keep the height of your chest and look forward? And then step forward. Grounding down to that left palm, let's reach the right arm up towards the sky and we'll twist. So left heel pushes straight back behind your big toe, left thigh bone lifts up towards the ceiling. As your outer right hip hugs back, I do want you to sink it forward and down, as if you're trying to get that right sit bone to touch your heel. Make sure your knees stay stacked at the center of your ankle. Left palm pressing down, roll your left shoulder blade away from the ear, lengthen your left ribs forward into that. Hug the front body in. Top arm, notice if you pinch it back to create your twist. Instead, try to keep the arms straight out from your shoulder and allow your spine to do the twist. Think of leaning your left side ribs towards your inner right thigh. Maybe you have the ability to look up and maybe not. That's okay. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, right hand to the mat. Pause, cobra, up dog your shoulders, pull the belly and up off your thighs, you reach your arms back. Palms face the earth or each other. Left heel pushes back, left thigh bone lifts up, outer right hip hugs in, lower belly pulls tight, front ribs knit together. Now keeping the arms reaching back, I just want you to imagine there was a string pulling the crown of your head forward, so far forward that by nature your back foot lifts up off the mat. We'll come into a warrior 3. Flex that back foot. Hug the outer right hip in. And then I want everybody to add a little bend to your right knee, maybe just an inch, and put both hands on the top of that right thigh. So you're going to use that as a little bit of support to take some of the intensity out of it. Now I want you to really focus on hugging your right hip back, pulling the belly in. Now, keep everything, but bend your left knee, pull your heel towards your butt. As much as you can. Imagine I put a toilet paper roll between your calf and your hamstring. And if you don't have toilet paper, imagine you had something else, because I know that's something we're missing. Now keep that, but lift the tip of your knee up towards the ceiling. Oh, feel that in your glute. Now imagine I put a quarter in between your butt cheeks and you had to hold that together. Keep the height of your left knee, slowly kick your heel straight back. Oh, pull the belly tight. Now use your hands to push that right thigh back to slowly work the leg towards straight, and then reach your arms back. So warrior 3, our glutes should be very much actively participating. But generally we depend just on the lower back, the hamstrings, right? Breathe. Bend your standing leg as deep as you can. Gently release your hands to the mat, let your chest hit the knee, and then work your leg towards straight vertical splits. Relax the head and neck. Flex that back heel, keep the left hip square to the mat. Working your standing leg towards straight, but don't be attached to the idea of it getting there. Breathe. Take a deep inhale, maybe lift your left heel a little higher. And then exhale, set your left foot down at the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. As you exhale, plant the hands, and let's just step back, high plank. Feet will be together, big toes touch. Kick your heels to the left, reach your right arm up to the sky, Vashi or side plank. Drop your left knee if you need to, just make sure it stacks under your hips so it's helping, not preventing. If you need a middle path, staggering your top foot in front of the bottom is a nice choice. Eventually it's big toe to big toe, and your heels separate just a little bit. Lifting the bottom hip away from the ground, tilt your top hip forward, pull the lower belly and front ribs in. Same thing as we did in our twist. Push it to the left palm and roll your left shoulder blade down the back. Beautiful. Lengthen those left ribs forward into that. Now maybe take your top arm up and overhead, palm facing the mat, right tricep tugs down towards your face. Pull the front ribs in, try to lean the right shoulder back a little bit more, and maybe you can look up underneath your right arm. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, right hand down, chaturanga as you're ready. Inhale, cobra or up dog, and exhale, downward dog. So from downward dog, we'll inhale to high plank. From high plank, tighten up the belly, and remember, you can drop the right knee at any point if you need that. You'll lift the left foot up. Bend the knee, hamstring curl your heel to your butt without letting your tailbone pop up. Keep that lower back neutral. So remember, the pelvis stays neutral. You're going to slowly begin to drop your left heel towards your right leg, letting the knee lift out to the side and up to the ceiling without letting the hip do the same thing. So just like our 90-90s, but we're in the air. Now lift the heel to the ceiling. Opposite direction, the heel falls out, the knee comes towards your leg, but keep the left hip lifting. Press into the palms. Now lift the heel to the ceiling. Exhale, knee to nose. Round the shoulders so you can lift the chest, that nice horseshoe shape in the chest. Now keep the height of your chest, but look forward. Get the knee closer to step through. Nice. Cobra, as you press into the right palm, keeping the length of your spine, will reach the left arm up. So right heel pushes back, right thigh bone lifts up more than you think you have to. Imagine I sat on your back leg like a bench, and you have to hold me up. Hug the left hip in, create that nice 90-degree angle in the front leg, as if your calf in that left leg was pushing forward, but you're resisting that by almost imagining you're dragging the left heel back. As you push into the right palm, roll the right shoulder blade down the back. Expand the arms apart, not just by opening your chest. You also want to protract the shoulder blades even here. Can you pull them to the outer body, giving your spine the space to twist? Right ribs towards the inner left thigh as the rest of your torso leans back. Maybe you look up. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, left hand down. Pause, cobra, up dog your shoulders. Pull your belly to the spine, fly your arms back, palms face the earth or each other. So you have a nice strong line from the back heel to the crown of the head. Right thigh is lifting, left hip is hugging in. So you do not want to bend the back knee. It's not a propel. It is a shift of weight. Lean so far forward that the weight of your head lifts the back foot up because it's naturally heavier. Back foot flexing, outer right hip wrapping down, lower belly pulling in. Now let's add that little bend to the standing leg and put both hands on top of your left leg. Use that to support the torso, pull the belly tight. Now with that support, hug the left hip crease back. There you go. We have a tendency to dump into that left hip. Now bend the back knee, heel to the butt. Get the heel as close as you can. That'll turn the hamstring on. Now if you lift the tip of your knee up towards the ceiling, that's going to turn on the glute. And then you want to imagine I put a quarter between your butt cheeks and you had to hold it in place. Squeeze the glutes together. Keep the height of that back knee and slowly kick your heel back. Pull the belly tight and then reach your arms back as you slowly press your left thigh back. Breathe. Let the glutes participate. It's really hard to do when this is not something we're familiar with doing, but if you do this over time, it makes the pose much more sustainable. I'm not going to say easier because, Now bend the standing leg as deep as you can, very gently, hands to the mat, chest to your knees. Relaxing the head and neck as you lift the right heel up, maybe press the left leg towards straight. But rather than how high, how long can you make that back leg? Keep the right hip square, let the forehead fall towards your shin as if you're trying to do a headstand on your left big toe. Breathe in and out your nose. Take a deep inhale, lift that right heel a little more. Exhale, set your right foot down at the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, plant the hands, just step back, high plank. Feet are together, big toes touch. Heels kick to the right, left arm reaches up to the sky. BODHI on the right hand. So remember, dropping the knee is a perfect option. Staggering your feet is nice as well. If you do big toe to big toe, flex the feet, separate the heels just a little bit like you do in Tadasana. Nothing too extreme. Bottom hip is lifting against the weight of your top hip falling. Right palm is pushing down as the right shoulder rolls down the back, your right ribs lengthen forward. Now I want you to think of a sandwich between the front and back of your body. So as you push your thighs, your belly, and your chest back, push your hamstrings, your butt, and your biospinal muscles forward. That's going to hug everything together, and then you can take your top arm up and overhead. Generally feeling much more stable. The palm faces the mat. Tricep towards your face. Now if you can lean the left shoulder back enough that you can look up underneath your left arm, be my guest, but don't let that top hip go with you. Breathe. Take an inhale. Exhale, chaturanga. Can you make it on one breath? If not, take an extra inhale. We'll meet in downward dog after you've flown through that vinyas. From downward dog, let's inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, take a giant step, walk, or maybe jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, fold in. Now at the same flat back, inhale Tadasana. Circle your arms to the sky. Maybe watch the palms kiss. Exhale, hands to heart center, Samasthiti. Inhale, arms fall before they rise. Exhale, forward fold, let it go. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, chaturanga, step or jump back if you're ready. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. And exhale, Adho Mukha. From downward dog, let's inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, fold in. Inhale, reverse swan dive your arms to the sky. Exhale, pull the hands through heart center. Inhale, Tadasana, reach for the sun. Exhale, bow forward towards the earth. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, chaturanga. Finish this one off on your own, and we will meet in downward facing dog. From downward dog, let's inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back, and exhale, fold in. Inhale, Tadasana, find the peak of the mountain.
Exhale, Samasthiti, prayer in front of your heart. Go ahead and do one more Surya Namaskar, Sun Salutation A on your own, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. No rush to get there. So from downward dog, let's go ahead and inhale the right leg to the sky. Now push into your palms so much that you can actually lift your head above your shoulders. Notice if your chest drops to the mat, can you knit those front ribs in so the chest keeps lifting up towards your hips? But lifting the head enough that you can actually stare at the line between your wrists. Now find the tippy toes of your back foot. You're going to bend the knee and then jump and switch feet at the back of your mat. Just jump and switch feet. So you can make that as big as you'd like, whether it's floating in an L-shaped handstand for a period. Just try and make it light. You might even just set the right foot down and lift the left foot up and vice versa. But take your time, play around with it, find your breath, and then we will meet the next time your right leg is lifting to the sky. Take an inhale, stretch the heel back. Exhale, pull the knee to the chest, step next to your right thumb. As you fly your arms back, I want you to float forward, warrior three, lifting off. So hug that right hip in, turn on those glute muscles. Try to do it without all the intricate stuff we did in the beginning. Pull the belly towards the spine. Now slowly begin to release your left hand directly underneath your left shoulder. Whether your fingertips are on the mat, you may even use a block, right palm planted on your tailbone so you can keep the hips level, and now lift the tip of your right shoulder up. Notice if the left hip swiveled down, lift the front of your left hip up towards the ceiling. And then maybe reach that right arm up. So remember, those glute muscles are doing a lot to hold the pelvis in place. Outer right hip is hugging back, right thigh is pushing back as your left ribs lengthen forward, your left heel pushes back. Parivrita Ardha Chandrasana, or the twisting half moon. You'll find in yoga, the longer the names are, the harder the pose gets. Now, can you get light onto that left hand? Pull the belly tight, squeeze the inner thighs closer together. And can you lift the left hand up, come back to airplane arm warrior three, use those glute muscles. Bend your standing leg. Gently crescent pose, step your left foot back, reach your arms up. Take an inhale. Exhale, pull the hands through heart center, leaning your chest halfway forward, drive through the left heel, and then twist. Left elbow to the outside of your right knee. As you press down into the palms, try to lengthen your spine enough that you can lift and twist your chest towards the ceiling. Drive through the left heel and lift through the left thigh. That's your stability. Crown of the head lengthens forward. Breathe. Maybe fly your arms. Maybe you look up towards the ceiling, wherever you're at, taking the pose a bit further. Take a deep inhale. With grace, exhale, unhook the arms, frame your front foot, pull your front leg straight. Relax the head and neck. So what comes next should feel really nice. I want you to climb to the fingertips of your hands. Think flat back. Now you're going to keep your legs straight and flex both feet, but begin to walk your hands to the right, all the way off to the right. Keep going until you're about midway on the mat. Keep flexing the feet. You'll return to the knife edge of your back foot and front foot. So you're literally creating a pretzel. This is what people think we do in yoga, and we don't do this often. But you should feel a nice stretch from the outer right hip down towards that outer ankle. And then if you want to relax the head and neck, taking a little further, be my guest. If not, stay high in the hands. Breathe. And then slowly walk your hands back to the front of the mat, turning to your back toes as your front toes point forward. Plant the hands, step back, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog, and exhale, downward dog. So from downward dog, we'll lift the left leg to the sky, flex the heel, keep the hip neutral or square to the ground. Press into the palm so you can lift your head and look at the line that runs from one wrist to the other. Now lift the chest towards your hips by knitting the front ribs in. Nice. Now find the tippy toes of your back foot. You bend the knee, and then you just jump and switch feet at the back of your mat. And then you jump and switch feet. So try to make it light and controlled, even if you're just setting the foot down to lift the other foot up. If you're doing the jump and switch, try and imagine standing on the ceiling with that top leg to really make it light. Breathe. We'll meet the next time your left leg is lifting to the sky. Take an inhale, relax the head and neck, find a stretch. Exhale, knee to chest, looking forward, stepping next to the left thumb. Now as you think cobra up dog in your chest and fly your arms back, I actually want you to fly forward warrior 3. Lift that back heel, get it level with your glute, hug your outer left hip and pull your lower belly away from the thigh. Squeeze that imaginary quarter between your glutes. Hug the front ribs in. Now very slowly, you're just going to release your right hand directly underneath your right shoulder. Fingertips are on a block, left palm to your tailbone. Use that to keep the hips level. Lift the tip of your left shoulder up towards the ceiling. And once you can't twist anymore, you might reach the left arm up. Now we have a tendency to let that right hip swivel down towards the inner left thigh. So lift the tip of the hip up towards the ceiling. Hugging the outer left hip crease back as you push the thigh back. Lengthen the right ribs away from the right heel, pushing back. Roll the right shoulder blade away from the ear. Expand the arms apart. Now squeeze those butt cheek muscles together as if it were the only thing I'm asking you to do. Pull the belly in and slowly lift your right hand up, reach your arms back, airplane arm warrior 3. Pause, breathe. Bend your standing leg deeply. Very gently, crescent pose, land on your back toes, reach up to the sky. Take an inhale. Exhale, pull the hands to heart center, lean forward, drive through the right heel to twist the right elbow to the outside of that left leg. So same thing as if you had your right hand on the inner edge of your foot, but you push through the right heel to lengthen through the back crown of the head. Stacking the elbows, pressing the palms, or flying your arms. Even here, you're not just trying to broaden your collarbone. We tend to do that by pinching our shoulder blades together. Keep the chest open, but also broaden the shoulder blades apart. Hug the front body in. Breathe in and breathe out. Maybe you look up towards the ceiling and maybe not. But take a deep inhale, maybe twist further. Gently exhale, hands release, framing the foot. Pull the front leg straight. Stay high in the fingertips of your hands so you're lengthening through the spine. Flexing through the feet, keep your legs straight. Just begin to walk both hands off to your left. Let the toes go with you and both feet, right? Keep the legs straight. So you rest on the knife edge of both feet. Your hands come about midway on your mat. It's like a straddled fold, except we're crossing the legs. And if you want to relax the head and neck, be my guest. But breathe. Feel nice in that outer left hip. You should maybe even feel it in the IT band of both legs. Now slowly crawl your hands back to the front of the mat. Turn to your back toes as your front toes point forward. We bend the knee, plant the hands, step back, chaturanga or don't. You can always skip that, and we'll meet in downward dog. Now from downward dog, let's take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Hold this breath at the very top. And then open up your mouth. One more deep inhale through the nose to hold. This time, like a line, stick out your tongue. And then just go back to breathing in and out the nose. Dropping to the knees. Cross one ankle over the other, sit back behind your feet. Sukhasana. So let's come back to the very first pose we started off with, crisscross applesauce. But remember, cross the shins. Make sure you find your sit bones. Sit on a prop if you need that. But then today, let's go ahead and round through the spine. Pull the belly in. Let the forehead fall towards your pubic bone without rounding your tailbone underneath the pose. Once you can't get any more round, you'll begin to crawl your hands forward. And if you can, in front of your legs, even if you're up on a block, you're going to cross whatever leg is in front. The opposite arm is going to be closest to it. Reach it in the opposite direction of itself. You're going to create an X in your arms as well. Top of the hands on the mat. Try and crawl the hands as far apart as they'll go. Either the tops of the hands on the mat or pinky edge of the hands on the mat. Forehead rests on a block, on a pillow. But so you have the opposite arm to the opposite front leg, right? So in Casey's situation, her right leg is in front, so her left arm is actually touching her right shin. And this creates a nice, what is called cross patterning between the two hemispheres of the brain. And that in itself turns off what is called fight or flight mode. It's an instinctual thing that every animal is built with. And it is turned on any time we are faced with a life-threatening situation. But in human beings, unfortunately, most of us are continuously living in fight or flight mode. It can be triggered by all sorts of things. Even something as simple as bad posture, where our head kind of comes forward out in front of our chest, because what happens there is the muscles, the trapezius, they begin to tense and tighten, which means the body needs to continually send it blood flow to nourish it, to feed them. And with that, your body goes into this fight or flight response, because that's what happens in fight or flight. Our body is given this kind of shoot of adrenaline, of blood flow to feed the muscles of our body so that they can either stand and fight or have the energy to take off and run. But continually being in fight or flight mode is very detrimental, not only for the health of our body, the state of our mind. It can cause us all sorts of health problems, anxiety, and can oftentimes be that reason where we maybe lash out at something or someone for no reason. So this cross patterning is always a nice thing to add into the practice when you can. Just begin to deepen the breath. Soften the jaw. Unfurl the eyebrows. Maybe begin to notice how the fingertips are maybe tingling. That generally happens before the feet. And as long as they're not sharp shooting tinglings, but more like something was falling asleep over a period of time, it's an okay sensation to be feeling. Take 3 more deep breaths. Just like we did in the beginning, try to breathe the entire length of your spine, sending the breath first to the hook of your tailbone. Feeling it spread and absorb almost every single vertebrae all the way up into the base of your skull. exhale, it empties from the top to the bottom. So listen carefully. I don't want you to just come up. Whatever arm is in front of that cross, slowly slide it out underneath its proper shoulder. Take your time. So once the palm can push into the mat, to slowly allow the other arm to slide out, both palms pushing into the earth, round your spine up. Vertebrae by vertebrae, let the head and neck be last to come. Keeping the chin in the chest until it, by nature, the crown of the head pulls up to the sky. And then just switching the cross in your legs. Rounding out the spine first. Remember, you're trying to round out the entire spine without tucking the tailbone underneath the pose. As you begin to come forward, whatever leg is in front, you're going to take the opposite arm and reach it away from that shoulder, creating an X within the arms, right? Either pinky edge of the hands or the top edge of your hands are in the mat. Kind of feel out how that feels within the shoulder joint itself, and where you feel it within the ligaments that connect in trapezius or the traps. Should be softening as the forehead rests on a block. So the connective tissues you should kind of be feeling it in is where the triceps connect in near the armpit, even where the lat connects in there. You should feel a very broad sensation in between the shoulder blades, allowing the trapezius, the rhomboids to kind of expand. Those are all the muscles that are in charge of keeping the shoulder blades down and in the back. If you haven't already, close the eyes. Maybe call to your attention the place where your arm and shin connect. And just notice the continual cross patterning that takes place within the arms and the legs. And if you're crossing the opposing, your left leg is pressing into the right leg is pressing into the left arm, and your left arm is pressing into the right, or vice versa. Just finding that line of energy, kind of that zigzag throughout the body. Can you begin to feel the body and mind becoming a little bit more calm? Allowing the effects of that off switch to begin to take place. Following your breath. Allowing every breath to create more space and length within the spine. And as a direct result, because of that, allow your breath to become a little longer every single time. And if you're tracing your spine with your breath,
But because our breath creates space, that space should give us the ability to take deeper breaths. Take 3 more deep breaths. And whatever arm is in the very front, slowly just begin to slide it out so you can plant that hand underneath its shoulder. Take your time, don't rush it. Once that hand is under the shoulder, you can push into it just enough that you can slide the other arm out a little easier, planting it under its shoulder. Rolling the spine up. Chin stays towards the chest for as long as you can until you lift the crown of your head up. And then as you're ready, let's set up for Supta Baddha Konasana with a back bend. So ideally 2 blocks. If you do not have blocks, firmer pillows, or maybe a stack of books that's about 6 inches high with a pillow on top. But the block should be about 6 inches behind your hips. So the block runs directly in between the shoulder blades. The second block rests underneath your head, and ideally it's 1 level shorter than the first block that's underneath the shoulders. Let your arms fall out and away from the sides of your body, and the palms should face up. This should help broaden the front body, the collarbone. Open the chest. The soles of the feet can come together, the knees flop open. If the knees do not touch the mat, again, you can use more props, pillows, blocks if you have more. You could run a very long pillow, even a body pillow, between the space of your heels and your groin, and that'll help alleviate some of the pressure. And then just close your eyes. And Supta Baddha Konasana tends to be a big pose, not in the sense that you feel a lot, right? And some people may feel a lot, but because you're hitting a lot of the meridian lines. In fact, 6 of our meridians run through the hips. So, at least in Chinese medicine, but you have to understand that meridian lines are the same thing as nadis, as we know them in yoga, part of the energetic body, the energetic rivers or pathways that stem out from our chakras. And there are over 72,000 nadis in the human body. So regardless of the pose, you will be hitting quite a few at any given moment. But within Chinese medicine, 6 of them run through the hips. The other 6 are within the upper body, from the shoulders into the hands. And so because of that, these meridian lines, they're in charge of processing, flushing out our emotions. But more often than not, we tend to hold on to them. We create blockages, stagnation. And so when we sit still like this, we're basically trying to find those places where we have a blockage. So I say this a lot. It's not about
falling into the places that were already open, bendy, and flexible, but instead finding these places within the body that are feeling congested, tight, locked up, blocked off. And within yin, we are creating almost an aid to those blockages. So in this case, within the hips, within the thoracic spine as we arch over the block. And we do this for the reason, if you think of a river that over time, leaves, sticks, pebbles, rocks, debris begin to kind of build up at a certain place, creating a blockage of the water's ability to flow. And then within that, behind it, there's this stagnation that then allows, whether it's mosquitoes, algae, bacteria, different things to form and build up. But over time, because of the strength of the river pushing and pushing and pushing, eventually the debris will break free. But in yin, what we are trying to do is try to help that build up. So that when we come out of the pose, it's almost as if you walked by that river and actually broke the debris free, creating this surge of energetic movement flushing out, letting go of the emotions that you've been holding on to, consciously or subconsciously. And so it's very normal in hip openers and back bends to feel a lot emotionally bubble to the surface. So with whatever shows up, be okay with it. And not even as if you're experiencing it for the first time again, rather trying to be actually one step removed. Maintaining that position of just witness. You've already experienced it, you know how it feels, right? So just witnessing and watching. Trying not to react. And even if there's a response, like tears, tightening muscles, let them happen and just witness. Maybe notice how you respond to whether it is crying, tensing and tightening your body. Be okay with wherever you're at, with whatever is showing up. And then as you're ready, I don't want you to have to come off the blocks, coming up to a seat, so I want you to just continue to lie there and reach your right or left arm over your head, letting it dangle next to your ear, whatever arm feels appropriate. Take your opposite hand to that leg, and you're going to very gently close the leg on top of the other like you're closing a book as you roll on to the side that your arm is reaching over your head. The head should literally fall off your block onto your arm. Take your top arm down and behind you so you can remove the first block, and then up and over your head so you can remove the second. Take your time to remove your props and even set up new ones. And as you feel ready, you'll roll onto your back and we will prepare for Savasana. So just feeling it out. Make sure you do center the spine so the tailbone lines up with the cervical spine. The legs, whether they're long on props, the arms can fall however and wherever. Savasana, or the corpse pose. The ultimate place of letting go. A place where you're not only allowing every bone, muscle, ligament, and tendon to relax, rejuvenate, every single organ and cell get to reap the benefits of every pose you just went through. The mind gets to finally settle as it even lets go of your breath, which you've worked so hard to maintain throughout the rest of class. And you, the soul, get to softly step aside. Finding that sense of release from the inside out. This is it. Just let yourself rest. Happiness lies not in possessions and not in gold. The feeling of happiness dwells within the soul. My favorite quotes, and I can't for the life of me remember who said it. A philosopher of some sort. And we're taught the same within yogic philosophy, that in fact the soul, or the Jiva Atma, is Satchit Ananda, which means eternally or ever existing, full of knowledge of the truth, and always situated in a place of ananda, or happiness or bliss. So we have to understand that happiness or ananda is just a natural state of who we are. But due to Maya, which means illusion, and our own false ego of identifying ourselves as being this material body of flesh and bones, we spend our lives searching out happiness in every possible way. Whether that's food, friends, money, sex, travel. The list is really almost endless. But what you can all attest to is that they all fall short. And that is because you are trying to satisfy an eternal hunger with temporary and finite things. It's a perfect example of how opposites really never actually work. And so we have to understand that to truly find that happiness, we have to begin to start looking at things in a different way. For how many years have human beings been trying to fill this void of hunger or this void of hunger for happiness by trying to accumulate as much money, power, love, whatever it may be, as they can. But generally it just causes more frustration, anger, and pain. And so if we can try to solve the problem in a different way, we're guaranteed to get different results. So in yoga, we're told if we can invest more time and energy into finding that self-introspection of, well, who am I beyond the body and the mind? Is there a God? Is there not a God? If there is, what is my function and position amongst it all? Practice things like prayer, taking the time to have a conversation with God, meditate upon the Supreme, study sastra or scriptures and getting to know every facet of all the answers we're constantly searching for. That is where you're going to get that feeling of happiness from the inside out. So for now, we can begin to wiggle the toes, the fingers, roll out the ankles, the wrists. You can even stretch your arms up and overhead, point through the toes, call some energy back into the physical body as you stretch along. And then in your time and when you're ready, if you can remember, roll to the opposite side that you rolled off the blocks from, just so you balance that out. Don't rush it. And whenever you're ready with your eyes still closed, we'll slowly walk up to a comfortable seat. Whatever that is for your body at this time is up to you. And rest your hands on your knees and your lap, or bring them to heart center. Sit up tall, close your eyes, and just come back to your breath. So just remember that yoga ultimately is a journey inward. Getting past the superficial aspects of the body and the mind. And really getting to this place where you're taking care of yourself, the soul. And when we can do that, it permeates from the inside out. My spiritual teacher says that if we can focus on our spiritual life, then our material life will naturally fall into place. So just something to think about, something to take with you and work with beyond the rubber mat. On that note, namaste.